The atmosphere within the Golden State Warriors carries a silent tension, yet it is filled with possibilities. The name at the center of attention is Jonathan Kuminga, a player who has been drawing interest both inside and outside the franchise. The situation became even clearer when it was confirmed that he signed a 2-year contract extension worth $48.5 million with a team option for the second year. According to his agent, this deal was structured strategically, allowing for future renegotiations, but there is a perception behind the scenes that Kuminga might not even reach that point still wearing the team's jersey. The reason is simple. In January, he will become eligible to be involved in trades, and many believe the front office is already preparing the ground for such a move. This is not merely a financial or technical fit issue, but a matter of long-term planning. The franchise knows it is on the verge of entering a decisive cycle, where each decision could mean maintaining relevance at the top or beginning a rebuild. The Kuminga case is delicate because it involves potential, youth, and an untapped ceiling. However, other teams will certainly assess that ceiling differently. Some see him as a future all-star, while others view him as more of a complementary player. That perception will be crucial in defining what kind of return the Warriors can expect in any negotiation. Among the first names to surface as possible trade targets is Malik Monk. It is curious because the team previously had an opportunity to bring Monk in under different circumstances but refused, unwilling to part with players like Moses Moody or Buddy Hield, along with Kuminga. Now the equation seems different as Sacramento shows interest in Kuminga, and the player himself does not hide his admiration for their project. The issue, however, lies in Monk's contract, which includes a $21 million player option for the summer of 2027. This detail weighs heavily, as the Warriors intend to clear their salary sheet around that time to have full freedom for a rebuild. The front office does not want to carry commitments that could hinder this strategy, but the possibility cannot be completely dismissed, since Monk could fit as a direct swap for Kuminga. The bigger unknown, however, is not just Monk's value, but the impact Kuminga may still generate in the coming months. Until January, the forward's performance will be closely monitored. Should he reach a higher level and show progress, his trade value could rise significantly. This is where Trey Murphy of the New Orleans Pelicans comes into the picture. Known for his versatility and ability on both ends of the floor, Murphy, nicknamed Trigger Trey, earns around $25 million per season, which would require salary adjustments in any trade. Still, his profile is almost tailor-made for the Warriors' style of play, a consistent three-point shooter, tall enough to compete as a swingman, and an explosive athlete. His ability to switch between thunderous dunks and long-range shots makes him a rare piece and undoubtedly a highly appealing target. The problem is that the Pelicans are well aware of the value they hold. Any deal would demand not only Kuminga, but also valuable draft picks, possibly 2 unprotected first-rounders, and even pick swaps. It is a steep price, but one that could make sense if the front office believed Murphy could be an immediate and long-term partner for Stephen Curry. The fit seems natural. Alongside the franchise's biggest star, Murphy would have the space and freedom to raise his offensive output even further. It is no coincidence that rumors of this affinity between player and team have already surfaced. Another name that cannot be left out of this conversation is Andrew Wiggins. The idea of his return sparks heated debate because everyone remembers that his best basketball was played precisely with the Warriors. He has already proven capable of guarding the league's top opponents while contributing reliably on offense. But there is an obvious obstacle: his contract. At roughly $28 million annually, adjusting the team's finances without involving other pieces like Buddy Hield or even promising youngsters would be complicated. In this case, the participation of a third team could smooth things out, creating space for a more balanced deal. Here, fans face an interesting comparison. What would be more valuable, betting on Trey Murphy's future potential, even if it means giving up crucial draft picks, or bringing Wiggins back with a shorter contract aligned with the 2027 plan? It is the classic decision between risk and safety, between investing in someone still on the rise or trusting someone who has already delivered in the past. Continuing the list of potential reinforcements, Walker Kessler of the Utah Jazz emerges as a possibility. At just 24 years old, this young center has already established himself as one of the league's most promising rim protectors. Averaging around 11 points, 12 rebounds, and nearly 3 blocks per game, Kessler would provide exactly what the Warriors lack: consistent interior defense and physical presence. He is not a floor spacer, but his contributions in rim protection and rebounding could transform the team's defensive balance. Another intriguing target is Corey Kispert of the Washington Wizards. A sharpshooter with impressive three-point statistics, surpassing 40% accuracy in his career, he does not stand out defensively, but compensates with tactical intelligence and excellent off-ball movement. His cost is relatively low, and he could even arrive alongside another rotation player, giving the team greater flexibility in negotiations. And finally, in this first part, there is Jarrett Allen, center for the Cleveland Cavaliers. A big name in every sense, Allen is known as one of the best rim protectors in the league, frequently recording double-doubles with around 15 points and 10 rebounds per game. The obstacle here is his contract, which will exceed $30 million from 2026 onwards. The Warriors place high value on future financial flexibility, making this option appear more complicated. Still, from a purely technical standpoint, Allen fills a very clear gap, that of a dominant center who provides defensive security. The dilemma surrounding Jonathan Kuminga becomes even more complex when we look at the timeline the Golden State Warriors have in mind. The so-called Summer of 2027 freedom is already a central point in the team's strategy. In that year, practically all of the heaviest contracts expire, which means the chance of an almost complete rebuild. It is like a franchise reset, with the possibility of choosing which pieces to keep and which to bring in from the market. That is why any decision made now, whether a trade or holding on to Kuminga, must be thought of in terms of how it will affect that future. The team does not want to carry long-term commitments that could limit this flexibility. In this sense, names like Jarrett Allen become risky bets. Despite his undeniable technical quality, the financial weight could tie down the front office at a moment that demands lightness to move. On the other hand, players like Walker Kessler or Corey Kispert represent the other extreme: positive cost-benefit, youth, and room to grow without compromising the budget. This balance between talent and financial impact is the real game within the game, where the figures weigh as much as the statistics on the court. But we cannot ignore the emotional aspect. Kuminga has become a figure that divides opinions. Part of the fan base believes that he has not yet had the opportunity to show his full potential, and that, with more minutes and responsibility, he could become a key piece. Others, however, see inconsistency in his game and question whether he is really capable of sustaining a leading role in a team that aims for titles every year. This difference in perception is also reflected in the market. Some franchises see him as a raw diamond, while others consider him just another promising youngster among many. This is where the value of the coming weeks becomes crucial. Kuminga's performance until January will be the true passport to defining his fate. If he shows growth, proves that he can be decisive in big games, his market value skyrockets. In that case, higher caliber players enter the conversation. Names that today seem distant could become viable targets. But if the performance is irregular, the Warriors may end up limited to average options, seeking small adjustments instead of a transformative trade. Beyond the names already mentioned, there are speculations revolving around bolder partnerships involving multiple teams. This type of complex negotiation has become increasingly common in the NBA, precisely because it allows for balancing salaries, interests, and different strategies. Imagine, for example, a scenario where Kuminga goes to a rebuilding team, offering youth and potential, while another team sends a consolidated veteran to the Warriors. In this arrangement, draft picks also become part of the package, turning the transaction into something that impacts not only the current season, but also the years ahead. This is one of the reasons why names like Sotto Wiggins remain on the radar. His history with the Warriors proves that he can deliver in moments of pressure, and his past departure did not erase the chemistry he built alongside the team's leaders. Bringing Wiggins back would not only be a technical choice, but also a symbolic one, an attempt to revive a formula that already worked. Still, the contractual issue remains a barrier. It is not simple to fit in $28 million annually without giving up other pieces. The case of Trey Murphy also deserves further attention. The player represents not only immediate talent, but projection for the future. He is young, athletic, and has characteristics that perfectly fit modern basketball. He is the type of athlete any coach would like to mold over the years. For the Warriors, investing in him would be almost like betting on a new star to sustain the franchise's next phase. However, the cost in draft picks is an uncomfortable reminder. Giving up future assets can be dangerous, especially in a moment of transition. Whatever the decision, one thing is certain. Kuminga's negotiation is not just about one player. It is about how the Golden State Warriors want to be seen in the coming years. A team that bets on veterans to squeeze the last years of Curry to the maximum, or a franchise that starts planting the seeds for a new cycle, even if that means taking risks now. This strategic dilemma accompanies every conversation, every speculation, every backstage rumor, and that is precisely what makes this story so fascinating for the fans. They are not just following Kuminga's trajectory, but witnessing the embryo of a new chapter in the franchise. With every rumor, every headline, imagination runs wild. What would it be like to see Trey Murphy alongside Curry? And if Wiggins really returned, how would the defense look with Walker Kessler or Jarrett Allen in the paint? These are the questions that fuel debates in bars, internet forums, and groups of friends, showing how basketball goes far beyond the four lines. When we look at the rest of the Western Conference, it becomes clear that the decision regarding Jonathan Kuminga's future does not happen in a vacuum. Every move the Warriors make triggers a chain reaction, because other franchises are also planning their next steps. The balance of power in the West is fragile, and any addition or loss of talent can shift the hierarchy. Teams such as the Sacramento Kings, New Orleans Pelicans, Utah Jazz, and even the Dallas Mavericks closely monitor the situation, knowing that a trade involving Kuminga could reshape the competitive dynamics. The Kings, for example, have always been interested in athletic players who can contribute on both ends of the court. The idea of adding Kuminga to the core, led by De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, does not sound far-fetched. Sacramento wants to consolidate its position as a consistent playoff team, and Kuminga could be the injection of youthful energy that brings versatility to their rotations. In return, Golden State might consider Malik Monk, although we have already pointed out the financial and contractual obstacles. Even so, it remains a narrative circulating behind the scenes because the mutual interest is real. In the Pelicans' case, the Trey Murphy factor becomes even more evident when we consider the team's circumstances. They have depth, but lack stability in certain positions due to the constant injuries of their stars. A trade involving Kuminga could mean renewal for New Orleans, betting on someone with fewer injury concerns and plenty of room to grow. In exchange, Murphy would give the Warriors a player ready to compete at the highest level right now. This is perhaps the most debated potential trade because it carries both logic and risks. The Utah Jazz, meanwhile, take a different view. In full rebuild mode, they value young talent and are stockpiling draft picks. Kuminga would fit that profile, offering immediate impact, but still with room to develop. In return, the Warriors could receive Walker Kessler, filling a long-discussed gap, the absence of a dominant center. The question is whether the Jazz would be willing to part ways with such a valuable rim protector in exchange for a still inconsistent forward. Even amid speculation, the scenario remains intriguing. The Dallas Mavericks, for their part, are not as frequently mentioned in direct rumors, but they illustrate how Kuminga's movement could cause indirect consequences. Imagine if the Warriors managed to land a player like Trey Murphy or Jarrett Allen. That would increase the challenge for Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving to compete against Golden State in a playoff series. The mere rumor already sparks anxiety because every rivalry in the conference feeds on these potential power shifts. We also cannot forget the weight of draft picks. In today's NBA, there is no room for naive moves. Every pick traded away means giving up a potential young star. And for a franchise that is already starting to see the need for renewal post-2027, this cannot be overlooked. If the Warriors were to give up multiple picks to secure Trey Murphy, for example, they would be betting on him as a long-term pillar. It is a calculated gamble, but still a high one. In addition, there is the psychological factor within the locker room. Players notice when trade rumors intensify. Kuminga, certainly, is no exception. Knowing that his name is being mentioned in talks can affect his performance, for better or worse. Some athletes respond by improving, eager to prove their worth. Others feel the pressure and become inconsistent. The front office monitors this closely because every detail influences market evaluation. From the fans' perspective, the mood is also divided. Some call for patience, believing that Kuminga should be developed internally. Others demand immediate change, expecting the franchise to make the most of Stephen Curry's remaining prime years. It is a natural tension between present and future, but one that puts even more responsibility on the front office's decisions. And this is where the role of other players in the roster comes into play as well. Moses Moody, Gui Santos, Trace Jackson-Davis, Buddy Hield, all of them could be part of packages to make a trade viable. It is not only about Kuminga, but about an entire financial and technical puzzle. Every contract, every young piece, every veteran is a number on the calculator and a variable on the whiteboard. The complexity of balancing all this shows how the NBA market goes far beyond raw talent. Whatever the path, one certainty hangs in the air. A move involving Kuminga will be decisive in determining the tone of the season and even the medium-term future of the franchise. It is not just about one player leaving and another arriving. It is about the image the Golden State Warriors want to project, that of a team still chasing immediate titles, or that of an organization beginning to look towards a future without its current core. For Kai Sotto, the journey to the NBA is underway, and every step he takes is a reflection of the determination that has driven him since his first shots on the courts of the Philippines. His growth was not accidental, nor was it based solely on his physical attributes. It is the result of years of discipline, rigorous training, and above all, a mindset that refuses to settle. What sets Kai apart from other young talents is his ability to absorb learning and translate it into immediate action on the court. His most recent games in the B-League clearly demonstrate this evolution. Every play reveals a player who is not merely replicating movements but making conscious decisions, adapting to the dynamics of the game, and creating opportunities not just for himself, but also for his teammates. It is this game intelligence that makes his transition to the NBA so easy to imagine. In the game against Kyoto Hanarez, for instance, he gave a true lesson on how a modern center should play. He didn't limit himself to using his height to dominate the paint. He read the game, adjusted his positioning based on the opposing team's offensive movement, and knew how to exploit the spaces that appeared. His mid-range shots not only showed refined technique, but were also timely. He doesn't force plays. He knows the right moment to attack, and when it's more efficient to move the ball to find an open teammate. This technical and tactical mastery is something the Golden State Warriors deeply value. In the Californian team's system, game intelligence is just as important as individual skill. The Warriors' offensive rotation demands that everyone be in sync, that every movement be intentional. And Kai, with his sharp game reading and ability to contribute on both ends of the court, fits in like a chess piece carefully placed to disrupt the opponent. Moreover, the value of consistency must be recognized. Kai is about to reach impressive milestones in his career, with over 500 rebounds already accumulated in the B-League, nearly 1,000 points scored, and just steps away from reaching 100 assists. These numbers are not just representative of standout performances, but rather of a steady trajectory, of someone who shows up game after game, delivers results, and contributes to the collective. This consistency is exactly what many young players aspiring to the NBA lack. Many have talent, some have the necessary physique, but few can maintain a high level of performance over an entire season. Kai is showing that he is part of that select group that not only shines, but sustains that shine over time. The enthusiasm of Warriors fans over the possible arrival of Kai to the franchise is not just a fleeting excitement. It's a reflection of the understanding that for the team to remain competitive, quality renewal is essential. The league is constantly evolving, and even the most successful teams need to adapt. Kai represents this new generation of players who combine technique, physicality, and a competitive mindset, a perfect profile for a team seeking continued excellence. The atmosphere surrounding Kai on social media is a thermometer of the impact he is already having, even before stepping onto an NBA court. Videos of his plays go viral. Fans from the Philippines, Japan, and now the United States enthusiastically share his name. For the NBA, always looking to expand its market, the presence of a talent like Kai is doubly interesting. Beyond the technical impact, he brings with him a loyal and passionate audience, ready to follow him to any franchise that welcomes him. It's also important to highlight the cultural impact of this rise. Asian players are still underrepresented in the NBA, and the arrival of a talent like Kai opens doors, breaks barriers, and inspires a new generation of athletes who until now saw the American League as a distant dream. His success could very well redefine paradigms and create a new chapter in the history of global basketball. On the court, his performance in the third quarter against Kyoto, faking out two defenders, scoring under contact, and successfully completing the free throw, summarizes well who he is as an athlete. It's not just pure skill, it's courage, initiative, the ability to make decisions when the pressure is highest. That play could easily be featured in the NBA's top highlights of any game week. And it's that kind of moment that NBA franchises watch closely. Moments when a player takes responsibility and changes the course of a game. Kai is ready for that next step. The B-League was the perfect setting for him to develop, gain international experience, face more seasoned players, and test his limits. But now, with the dominance he has shown, it's evident that the level of challenge needs to rise, and there is no bigger nor more demanding stage than the NBA. The Golden State Warriors, in turn, are a franchise with a history of betting on talents with growth potential. They understand that it's not always necessary to go after an already established star, but rather to identify the player who, in the right environment, can become a central piece of the team's future. Kai represents that opportunity, an investment with potentially immense return. Kai's ability to act as a defensive anchor is one of his greatest assets. With long arms, sharp shot-blocking timing, and above-average positional awareness, he can be the center who protects the rim with authority, but also the player who initiates plays from the defensive end. In fast transitions, his ability to make the right pass, even under pressure, has already been tested and approved in the B-League. In a team like the Warriors, where defense often sparks offense, that skill would be a powerful weapon. At the same time, his development as a scorer is noteworthy. Kai is not a static big man who only finishes near the rim. He moves intelligently, knows how to position himself, and is gradually incorporating mid-range shots into his offensive arsenal. This versatility is a differential in a league increasingly based on spacing and movement. He can play with his back to the basket, but also stretch the floor and hit jump shots when needed. It is precisely this multifunctionality that makes him so desirable. Kai also possesses something that cannot be taught: presence. When he's on the court, he's noticed. Whether it's for his size, clutch plays, or the energy he transmits, he energizes the environment around him. Teammates play with more confidence, opponents must adjust their game, and fans pay closer attention. That aura is rare and precious. It's not just about basketball. It's about impact, how an athlete can alter the dynamics of a game or a franchise. For the Warriors, that presence is something that can be nurtured and maximized. In a team that values collective effort, Kai could find a space where his talent not only flourishes, but integrates harmoniously into an already well-established system. He wouldn't need to carry the team on his shoulders, but could develop surrounded by experienced players and a coaching staff that understands the value of polishing raw gems. And most importantly, Kai has a thirst for learning. His track record shows an athlete who is not content with the basics. Each season, he adds something new to his game. Be it in defensive reading, off-ball movement, or decision-making, Kai is constantly evolving. That mindset is the greatest asset a young player can have when entering the NBA. And that perhaps is what excites Golden State Warriors fans the most. The chance to witness the rise of a talent who is still far from his peak, but who already shows flashes of something special. A player who, with the right tools, could become one of the key pieces for the future of the franchise.